secrets impact us as women. And I've been speaking with women who've been holding on to secrets for 20, 30, 40 years. And when I ask them about their secret, they'd say, you know, I don't feel like I could tell anybody. It's not even safe for me to tell my husband. But the reality is the actual definition of being selfish means being true to yourself. It's being involved with yourself in a unique way that nobody else can be that way, right? So it's owning our individual persona, our individual personality, and standing in our power. It's not about a negative thing. It's not what we were taught to believe that it was as a child. And in fact, every woman that I work with, I'm constantly preaching to them, be selfish. I want you to be selfish because I want you to take care of yourself. We have a right as women to nourish our bodies. We're so into taking care of other people. We're caretakers in our society. We need to take care of ourselves. And sometimes what that looks like is giving ourselves permission to be selfish. We owe it to ourselves to take care of ourselves in order for us to be the best person we can be for our partners and take care of the other people in our lives. The only way to do that is to give yourself permission to be selfish, which means embodying all of you, being grounded in who you are, and owning who you are so that you are bringing the most authentic version of yourself forward in your relationships.
And what you said about being selfish is such a clear definition of a feminine energy. And that's so beautiful what you were saying. How much is too much selfish that really takes away from the relationship? Well, I guess she's stuck in her cave and is self-care and taking a bath every, weekend or like every day. She's locked in the bathroom. How much is too selfish is bad?
That's a great question. And the answer to that is it's different for every relationship. You know, as much as women need to be selfish, so do men need to be selfish in a sense, because we can't enter our relationship and then lose ourselves through it. And then we're defined as just the wife or just the girlfriend, and we've lost our individuality in the partnership. It's so important that we maintain a sense of individuality in any relationship we're in, because otherwise we lose who we were. You know, if you've been single and you're in your 30s and then you get married by 35, you don't lose your 35 years of experience that you had before you met your partner. You bring that into your relationship with you. All of that still needs to be nourished and have an opportunity to grow. So in the best case scenario, you end up with a partner who encourages your individual growth, your self-nurturing, and also contributes to it. So we want to be with somebody who not only allows us the space and the time to develop ourselves and our interests, but contributes to our own growth. And in the same sense, we should be contributing to our partner's growth and encouraging them to have time for themselves and be selfish as well.
That's so interesting. I love it. I love self-care and I love self-healing and all that. It's so beautiful. How would you communicate with that with your partner? It's like, hey, I'm going to go and be selfish in the bathroom. I'll be back in an hour.
You know, we laugh about it, but actually that's a perfectly acceptable way of doing it, right? The reason we're laughing about it is because it seems uncomfortable to ask for it. You know, it seems weird. Like, why do I have to ask for permission to go take a shower or go read a book for an hour? But in reality, we're not used to doing it. So it does feel awkward. But what I encourage couples to do is have this discussion early on in the relationship and say, hey, these are my needs. You know, I really need my Sunday nights to just sit around with my book for 2 hours and relax. And that's part of how I take care of myself. And maybe while I'm doing that, there's something you could do that really takes care of yourself for those 2 hours. And Sunday evening can be our self-care, selfish time. You know, so it's really about negotiating with your partner how much time that you need on a regular basis, and having that be flexible with your partner's needs as well, so that you guys can support each other in your opportunities of being selfish and taking care of yourselves. And in a way, what that's doing is taking care of your partnership. It's nourishing your relationship by respecting each other's need for individuality.
So you were talking about, coexisting feelings. And that's where we were talking about that. Can you explain a little bit more what that looks like and how that works?
Yeah, so this kind of gets back into what I was saying earlier in regards to modern day society, where we as women specifically, but I guess everybody in general, has been taught that emotions are bad. And we've been working to cut ourselves off from our emotions because, again, they're not comfortable. Good emotions are comfortable, and we all love feeling happy and excited, and whether it's that adrenaline rush of going on a roller coaster or getting a raise at your job, those all feel good, and we would love to feel that way all the time. But of course, those come with negative emotions as well. And when we have the negative emotions, we choose to numb through medication, perhaps through drugs, perhaps through food or through shopping, and we do what we can to disconnect from the discomfort, right? So we're always looking to keep everything good and happy feeling and, feel good in our bodies. But the second it turns on us, the second there's a shift and we start feeling negative, we can't handle it. We've trained ourselves to cut off those negative emotions. But we have to remember that the good comes balanced with the bad. And our bodies experience emotions the exact same way, regardless of their good emotions or bad emotions. For instance, let me ask you, Sindy, what are the symptoms you would feel if you were in love? If Prince Charming walked through your door right now, how would you know that your heart was going pitter patter and you were just, thrilled that Prince Charming just came in to sweep you off your feet? How would you know that? What would your body do?
I would be blushing. I'll
Okay.
be speechless. I'll be thumbing on my words. I would be like, I would practically be really heartwarm. I have goosebumps on my
Yeah.
body. And there will be a sense of a a dopamine that I want to be around this person.
Yes. What would you notice in your stomach? What do you think your stomach would feel like?
I think my stomach will be full of butterflies.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so it's a good butterfly. It's just a good feeling where my whole system and my nervous system really tingles right up
Yes.
to my spine. And it wants more.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels good, doesn't it? These are good
Yes.
sensations, right?
Yes.
So let me ask you this. What's something that terrifies you? What's a fear that you have?
Oh gosh. Um, I would say scorpions,
Oh, okay.
little bugs.
Okay, a fear bug. So now let's flip the table a little bit and imagine that a scorpion was sitting right in front of you and veering its tail and just about to dart out and attack you. What would your body feel like? What would you notice in your body?
I would be screaming. I'll be
Okay.
jumping up and down,
Hmm.
and then I would fly away as I jump up and down like a kangaroo,
Okay.
and not want to see it.
So what would you feel in your stomach?
In my stomach, it will be very tight. It will be
Hmm.
nauseous. I will feel really sick. I feel like my stomach is about to turn.
Okay.
And I feel like my whole body is flipped inside and out.
Okay. And what about your skin? What about that tingly sensation? Do you
My
think
skin, it will be crawling. It will be like it's gross. It's just like you just want to shake it off.
Yes, absolutely. So think of this now. We've just compared a really positive, exciting situation
Yes.
to a really negative situation. And I don't know if you caught on to this or not, but as you were describing the sensations that you would be experiencing in your body for the good sensation, they're the exact same sensations your body would create for the scorpion.
Yes.
So your stomach would be flipping, your skin would be tingly, you'd have a burst of energy in your body, right? So you'd be flush with emotion, right? So all of the emotions, all of the sensations, rather, that our body produces for happy, joyous emotions are the exact same sensations that our body recreates for negative, uncomfortable ones. So the only difference between the feelings or the sensations we have in our body for happy emotions versus negative emotions are the labels that you put on it. So for instance, you described with your stomach when we were talking about Prince Charming walking in your door, you mentioned your stomach flipping and just butterflies and, kind of an excited sensation. Well, the same chemicals that are used to create those sensations in your stomach, those are the exact same chemicals that create the feeling of your stomach flipping for the scorpion and nausea and stomach being tied up in knots. Our brain releases the exact same chemicals. It's the only difference is the words that you're using to describe it as positive or negative. So when I talk about incorporating our emotions, it's being aware that our emotions are just signals that our body is sending to us. They're just messages. We don't want to get rid of them. We want to, increase our awareness and incorporate our emotions into our day-to-day living, because it's only through being in touch with our emotions that we can also be in touch with our instinct and make the best decisions for ourselves.
That's such an empowering example. I love it. So if anybody is watching this, please make your list of your Prince Charm, what you want and what you don't want.
Exactly.
I think it's it's such a powerful emotion just to be aware of the difference, but realize that it's all coming from the same chemical.
Exactly. Our brain has its capacity, and while we don't understand the brain in its full nature and wonder, the chemicals that are released when we experience sensations in our body are the same. The only difference is whether you decide that it's bad or you decide that it's good. That's it. But our body says it's the same signal. Whether it's nausea because I'm disgusted or it's my stomach flipping because I'm so excited, doesn't matter. Same chemical.
Wow, I think that's such a really powerful exercise that you just did with me. And I think there's a lot of women out there can relate to this and understanding
Sure.
a little bit more about their self. We talked about, stop asking permission. And what does that look like?
So one of the things that we do as women is we look for other people to validate us all the time. And the reason we do this is because we don't trust ourselves. Why don't we trust ourselves? Because we're not tuned into our instinct. So it all comes back to instinct for me. But we look for other people to validate our experiences and our decisions because we don't have the self-confidence or the self-esteem to trust in our own instinct and to trust in our own choices that we're making. So we ask other people for opinions all the time. And it's okay if we're looking for a skill. For instance, I don't know how to change a flat tire, so I need information. What's your advice on how to get started? So that's a skill-based inquiry. But usually 9 times out of 10, the inquiries that we make when we're asking other people for advice or information is we want them to interpret for us our emotional stance and then make a decision about the relationship that we're struggling with, be it a relationship with work or school or a husband or a parent. We're looking for outside feedback because we're not trusting our own decisions and our own knowledge and experience. The problem with this is the person that we're asking isn't standing in our shoes. So they're only going to offer us advice from their perspective. And it's going to sound great from their perspective, but they're missing out on our experience to really form a full, appropriate distinction and opinion. And then we get overwhelmed because we don't just ask one person for advice. We ask 3 people for advice or 5 people for advice on, should I take job A or should I take job B? And now we're stuck in that indecisiveness and we can't make a decision about what the next step should be for ourselves. So I always encourage women, when we talk about getting in touch with our instinct, stop looking for advice from other people. We really need to start, the second we get that little notion or that voice in our mind that says, maybe I should seek my good friend Annie's suggestion or advice on this, we need to say, whoa, let's stop, let's tune into my body, let's hear what my body is trying to tell me, and let's see why there might be something in me that's telling me to go against that, or why I'm self-doubting. Am I self-doubting this because of the past 30 some odd years, I haven't really listened to my own voice and I haven't really trusted myself? Okay, well then that's what I need to be working on. How can I trust myself and make a decision by myself without needing information from other people?
What you said was amazing when it comes to making a decision to you for yourself and trust yourself is
Yeah.
so amazing. But what about for people who has fear of making mistakes or perfectionists? That's really is the underlying reason for making a decision.
Yeah, well,
And
perfection is, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. So that's just where I would say, like, yeah, we can make decisions, but there's consequence. There's a pros and cons for everything.
You're right. There is, but the only way to learn about that balance is by doing it. This is one of those life experiences that we have to gain for ourselves. And perfectionism is really tied into that all or nothing mentality that I was referencing earlier, where everything has to be perfect or I can't do anything about it. I'm frozen until I feel like, I'm not turning in this paper unless it's 100% perfect, or I'm not getting in this relationship because he's not 100% perfect for me. And that's where we start having to look at that mentality of perfectionism and where that's rooted in. Perfectionism is typically rooted in our childhood, in the relationship we had with our parents, and maybe the pressures that our mom or our father used to put on us in regards to getting praise from them and the rewards that our parents would feed to us. That's how we start developing a perfectionistic personality. But we also have to come to terms with the fact that we're now an adult, and putting on our big girl pants and being the adult in our world means that we can start shredding some of those old childhood tapes that we've been carrying around with us for our whole lives, and realize that the all or nothing mentality is not serving us anymore. It's no longer helping us. It's not allowing us to grow. And in fact, it's keeping us stunted in our growth. So when we have those old childhood tapes that creep up from our nuclear family as a kid, we have to start dismissing those. We have to shred them. We have to tear them apart, and we have to replace them with something that's way more powerful, that helps you as a woman stand into your power and helps you as a woman feel grounded in who you are as a woman now, not as a little child, not as a little girl.
And when you were saying that, the first thing pop in my mind is limiting beliefs that we carry because our childhood rearing. And you spoke so well about, child rearing. It really, that's where it comes from. We didn't even know any better. We didn't understand it because now we're an adult. We have a choice to look for support and help, and not necessarily it's in the family. And
Right.
that sometimes could be a coach or a therapist,
Yeah.
not your friends. Not your friends. Please don't go to your friends because
Yeah.
we were saying we don't need validation, right? I
Right.
believe that this world is a mere projection to
Mhm.
everything that we do manifest, and it
Yeah.
all comes within.
Absolutely. Everything starts from within. And as soon as we start to recognize that, then we can stand fully in our own power. And that's, part of my job as a coach with the women that I work with, is helping them stand in their own power and really figure out who they are, because oftentimes women come to me and they don't know who they are. So I help them work through these issues and really feel grounded in who they are now as a full woman, standing on their own 2 feet in this independent world, and conquering all of their goals and just growing within so that they could grow without in their world.
You were saying, like, when you suppress your feelings, and if you have any case scenario as a child, what does that look like? What would the parent do in order not to make the child feel validated?
So parents can withhold validation, for instance. They might say, that B is not enough. You should have gotten an A on that test or on that report card. They might withhold tenderness completely. They might not be the kind of parent that says, I love you, or the kind of parent that offers hugs and routine little signs of affection that you would expect a parent to nurture a child in a certain way. But oftentimes, parents don't do that for whatever reason. And then the child feels like they have to work for the parent's affection. And so now there's this unwritten rule, or this unspoken rule in the family, that in order for me to get mom or dad's attention, I have to do this. I have to get that 4.0 GPA. I have to get that A on that report card. Otherwise, mom or dad aren't going to love me. So that's just a small example of that script that can get created through our childhood, and we carry that into our adulthood, even though we're, you know, in our 40s or 50s and we're an adult woman. But our childhood really roots us in a lot of our emotional development. And these are the kinds of things that continue to play out over time in our lives, especially as we get into relationships where we're considering settling down with somebody.
Yeah, and it goes into the future, and what it looks like in a relationship, it looks like you have to earn love. You,
Yes.
and that's a lot of it I see in masculine women, high achiever women,
Mhm.
wounded women in a sense of over-masculating a man. So they feel like they have to earn it. So they're trying to do more for the men than the other way around.
You got it.
Women's more should be more receptive, meaning more being in the present, saying thank you for an act of service, or somebody said I love you, or you think you're pretty. You don't validate it. You don't go in saying like, you know what, I think you were just joking about you thinking that I'm pretty. Just that's validating. You don't have to earn it. And
Mm.
masculine women tend to need validation, and that's where they're over masculated. They're not balanced with their feminine and their masculine. We both have both. We both
Yes.
have left brain and right brain. And the biggest power that you can do is take in within yourself, understand who you are, and be receptive. And
Absolutely.
and not earning for love. So you don't have to go and earn it. It means that you don't have to compete with him. Do you agree with that? From
For
child
sure.
rearing, present, and the future?
For sure. Well, I agree with definitely. You were describing the masculine versus the feminine, and you're right that we all have both of these in us. And you know, with one woman, it might be that she's more feminine, and the other more masculine, and both of these sides are perfectly acceptable and okay. And it's how we integrate the two and learn to speak between the two that we then can really stand in our true selves and be authentic on a day-to-day basis. Absolutely.
So when you were talking about being authentic, you mentioned the word like not looking for approval from others.
Mhm.
So the only person can say this relationship is no longer serving me is you, not your
Yes.
friends, not your family, nobody else.
Absolutely.
Is that
Absolutely.
correct?
You got it, for sure. It's a decision we have to come to for ourselves. And no matter how much influence your friends are going to have over you and how much they're going to tell you, oh, this guy is terrible, he's not the right person for you, it's a decision you have to come to on your own. And we seek outside validation. You know, it's might feel important to us that our family or our friends really like the person we choose as a partner, but in the end, we're the one that really has to be secure with them or her. And it's so important that we acknowledge that and we recognize that we need to come to that decision on our own and make a decision as for what's best for us in regards to being with a person or not being with a person.
That's amazing. And it's totally true because that has to do with self-confidence
Yes.
within yourself. And if somebody doesn't who have like self-confidence, how do they build it on their own? Like maybe a small tip that you might have that you work with clients that you can build self-confidence in your decision making. How do you go about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Self-confidence and self-esteem, those are two issues that so many women struggle with. And I love helping women really overcome that and watching them flourish and just kind of grow into their self-confidence. It's such a beautiful thing to see. But it's something that takes a while because, again, we've been in this pattern of life where we're constantly down on ourselves, where we're constantly saying negative things. And you know, the message in our brain, if that's always negative, how the heck are we going to feel good about ourselves? So the first thing that I always have women do when we're talking about self-confidence is pay attention to what's happening up here. And I have them do this little, not necessarily a game, but this little task where I have them take a jar in their house, and every time they have a negative thought about themselves, I want them to drop a quarter in that jar for an entire week and watch how the quarters accumulate, because you don't recognize how often you think negatively about yourself until you start keeping track of it. And then at the end of the week, we count up that money that's in that jar, and the women are shocked because it happens so subconsciously that they don't even recognize that they're doing it. We've just trained ourselves to do it automatically, to be like, ah, that's a silly thought, I can't do that, or that was stupid of me, why did I say that? These kinds of negative thoughts are constantly running through our minds. And when that happens, it's contributing to the problem, which is keeping our self-esteem low. And it's not allowing us to grow and improve that. So first things first is we have to have an awareness of the negative self-talk that we're doing, and then start rewiring that so that we're not engaging in that behavior anymore.
Wow, that's so amazing what you're saying. And it's self-awareness is number one.
Yes.
And being able to admit that you have this is really key, because that's the way that you solve the problem. If you don't even acknowledge that you have it, then you're kind of walking around not being authentic to you.
You got it. Absolutely.
So Tammy, I had so much fun talking to you, and I learned so much from you, and I'm pretty sure my audience have as well. I know we threw a couple medical terminology, but that's something it's always great to learn as well.
Yeah.
Tammy, if somebody wants help in this area, I know there's a thing that you are offering right now. It's the 5 steps getting in touch with your feminine. How does that look like?
Yeah, so I have something that I written up and that I use with my clients. It's 5 steps to get in touch with your instinct. So, we've talked a lot about instinct here, and if you're interested in getting your hands on that, schedule a call with me. And once I see that you've scheduled a call with me, and I'm sure, Cindy, you have that link, so you'll be providing that link to my calendar, then I will get that straight over to your email inbox, and that's something that we could talk about on the phone together. The phone call is 100% free. I just want to get to know you, hear where you're at, and see if there's anything that I could offer you that would be helpful, whether it's through coaching or some other package that I might offer. So if that's something you're interested in, please go ahead and schedule a call with me. I'd love to speak to you. And Cindy, if you don't mind, I just want to mention one other thing. One of the specialties that I have through my coaching practice is working with women who have deep, dark secrets. And this has become a recent thing that I've been fascinated with and studying and learning just how much secrets impact us as women. And I've been speaking with women who've been holding on to secrets for 20, 30, 40 years. And when I ask them about their secret, they'd say, I don't feel like I could tell anybody. It's not even safe for me to tell my husband or my partner. And so I'm working with these women because what we're discovering is they have so much shame that they're carrying around from the toxicity of holding on to these secrets. And when they're able to let go of these secrets and let go of the shame and the burden that they've been walking around with for 20, 30, 40 years, it's incredible the transformation that these women are getting. So one of the specialties that I'm offering right now is working with women who have some sort of secrets that they've been keeping tucked away in their heart and just are so afraid and so intimidated to manage and to deal with, and they just feel so burdened by these secrets. And the one thing that I want to say to your viewing audience is that the way that I help women unburden themselves from their secret, they don't even have to tell me their secret. I do not need to know it. For you to be released from the shame of carrying it, you don't have to trust me enough to tell me your secret. You just have to work with me, and I can help you overcome the shame that's contributing to you maintaining that secret. And if you choose to tell me your secret, that's perfectly okay. As a licensed therapist, anyhow, I'm bound to confidentiality. But you don't have to share your secret with me in order for me to be helpful for you. So if that reaches out to any of your audience, I would love to speak to you and talk to you further about that.
Ooh, I really like that. The deep, dark secret. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yes, if you are feeling like there's some sort of shame, please definitely reach out to Tammy. She will help you overcome that shame, like she said. And you don't need to tell her what the secret is. But if you're living through shame, it's really tough. I could, see that for myself as well, because I was in the practice doing divorces for many years. So there's mistress, there's hidden money, there's hidden stuff. I'm all about the deep, dark secret.
Yes.
So I understand there's a lot of shame that goes with it. And it's really important to get yourself in the healthy so that you don't feel like it's a burden to you.
Absolutely. And when you release that shame, you can really step into, it ties into being authentic, because once that shame is off of your shoulders, you can really be the most authentic version of yourself and not feel like you have to hide or cower in the fears of somebody discovering what your secret is, because we're just going to get rid of that for you.
And that's so amazing. Okay, thank you so much, Tammy, for
Thank
coming
you.
on. And I'm so excited. I hope so. Everything down below, all the links down below. If you have not hit subscribe, please subscribe to my channel. Thumbs up, share, like, do the normal thing that you do always. And I'll see everyone later. Okay, bye now.
Bye. Thank you.